People spend way too much time learning Spanish from books and courses, but anybody who knows how to speak fluent Spanish, like me, knows you don't really learn Spanish that way. In this video, I will go over my tips that are more useful, practical, less expensive, fun, and better for conversation than courses. Following these tips, you will learn Spanish in a more natural way that immerses yourself in Spanish, yet also reduces the chance of you getting burnt out. The first thing is to watch movies. That's right, get a Spanish dubbed movie. The more you love the movie and know the lines by heart, the better. For example, I have Netflix and I love the original Pirates of the Caribbean. And there's a button where I can click to listen to the audio in Spanish. Sometimes I even click on the button to watch it with Spanish subtitles, and other times I even do it with English subtitles. This helps you to get a feel for the language because you already know what they are talking about. If I am around a computer while I'm watching the movie, and if I really feel like learning, I will write down a bunch of the words they used in each scene and then look them up and re-watch the same scene until I can make out each of the words. The hardest part of conversation in any foreign language is distinguishing each of the words as separate words instead of hearing them as a big mush of sounds. Listening to movies over and over again will help you do this. That is more realistic and how we would naturally learn the language. As a tip, Disney movies tend to speak a little slower Spanish if you want to begin with one of those. Now you might have to buy some of the movies, and I'll link to those movies in the description below. Reading books out loud. Wouldn't it be great if we had a friend to talk with us in Spanish that wouldn't judge us, wanted to speak Spanish constantly? Well, the next best thing I found is reading out loud a book in Spanish. Reading a book out loud will help you become accustomed to speaking and hearing yourself speak correct Spanish. Believe me, this will help a ton to converse in Spanish. Killing downtime with music. If you really want to learn Spanish, you have to be listening and speaking as much as possible. Now, don't burn yourself out, but start listening to music in Spanish. The good thing about Spanish music is that it is often slower than spoken Spanish, most of the time. I will link to below some of their popular songs that I like. So go listen to some of those songs, download the ones you like, and then look up their translations. So when you're listening to them in your car or whenever, you know what they're singing about. You can listen to Spanish music in the morning or during your bedtime routine. Listen to them in your car or on your way to work. Audible books and podcasts. Some people say listening to Spanish while you sleep helps you learn it. It might help a little, but listening to it as you fall asleep will help. You should go online and download a podcast like this one, News in Slow Spanish. It's cool. You just listen to the current events in slow Spanish. And my favorite is going to bed listening to your favorite books in Audible Spanish. I will link to those in the description below. The more you do things like this, the faster you get to speaking conversational Spanish. Speaking Spanish with someone. Eventually, you'll need to speak Spanish with an actual person in conversation. I would invite a Spanish-speaking friend or acquaintance to lunch and offer to pay on the condition that you speak Spanish the whole time and that he overlooks most mistakes, and only corrects major mistakes or helps when you are stuck on what to say. You can also go to an authentic sit-down Spanish restaurant and let them know you only want to speak in Spanish to the waiter or waitress. And you know, they have to go along with it if they want a good tip. Then build a rapport with a waitress and go in from time to time and just speak Spanish. Tip well and you will get better participation. I promise you they will respect it even if you make a ton of mistakes, and most will just go along with it. Recommended courses. Now it may sound like I'm completely against taking courses. I'm not. Unfortunately, to train our adult minds a new language, we do have to study Spanish through courses. I will link to a few of my favorite Spanish softwares below. I recommend them for their voice recognition capability to get you speaking Spanish. ¿Con azúcar o leche?
Con ambos, por favor.
The best advice I got to learn to speak Spanish was, the first person to make 10,000 mistakes will be the first person to learn how to speak the language. So don't burn yourself out. If it ever becomes too much, just put down the books, or in your case the online material, and focus on the fun parts. Go watch a movie in Spanish, or turn on Spanish music, turn on a sports game with Spanish announcers, but push through the hard times with some of the fun stuff, and one day you'll start speaking Spanish. I have links to great Spanish books, courses, movies, materials, and music in the description below. And if you'll do me one last favor, haz clic en me gusta y suscribirse. Que les vaya bien.